Professor Varethish K'ren'dal's chitinous form clicked across the lecture platform, each step a dry metronome against auric stone. Holographic panes orbited him like ordered moons, bathing the room in cold blues and surgical whites. The Xytherion Interstellar Combat Academy's amphitheater breathed with 1,000 faint respirations from 50 worlds. Cadets of vapor and flesh, crystal and carapace, fur and filament, watched the displays shimmer into focus. As we examine species Sol primus, Varethish said, mandibles flexing, commonly called humans, we must consider their dependence on tools. A skeletal model of a human rotated, layers sliding apart like petals, muscle, tendon, organ, bone. Observe. No claws, only blunt keratin tips. No fangs, flat molars favoring plants. No venom sacs, no exocarapace, no hypertrophied musculature. He let the model pause on skin, thin, porous, vulnerable, a translucent veil over red. Their dermis tears under trivial force, no quills, no poison glands, no natural armor. A Kyrthek scribal drone etched glyphs with a vibrating stylus that sang like a wasp. A Xytherion cadet raised a tentative tentacle, color-shifting with curiosity. Professor, how did such a creature become apex? Tools, Varethish answered without hesitation. Spears, guns, bombs, always an external equalizer. Strip away their artifacts, he went on, and a human becomes helpless against specialized fauna. He tapped a pane. Footage of a rocky valley under violet sky flashed. Metadata. Chthon Rift, Cycle 728-442. A juvenile scrithid, he narrated, barely a meter tall, cornered an unarmed human. The human expired instantly. From the back of the amphitheater came a sound that did not match any catalogued species. Laughter. Low, warm, human laughter. Heads turned like flowers tracking sun. Even the thrillith refracted light toward the source. A solitary human stood, still in workout gear and hand wraps darkened with sweat. His nameplate glowed in pale text. Darius Kaelen, Sol Defense Vanguard. Something amusing, Cadet Kaelen? Varethish asked, voice dry as paper. Darius rose, a quiet column of muscle and breath. Sorry, Professor. Prey animals just landed funny. Do you dispute the record? Varethish's tone did not invite comfort. I'd like to offer a demonstration, Darius said, voice even, polite. Against whom? The professor's compound eyes glittered with academic cruelty and genuine curiosity. Darius glanced around the tiers, posture relaxed the way cliffs are relaxed, until weather arrives. Any volunteer, he said. Multiple, if you like. No permanent damage. A Vorashk warrior in trainee black rose immediately, acid beading along grooves in his forearms. I volunteer, the Vorashk rumbled, armor plates shingling as he stepped down. For education. No weapons, Darius said, setting his watch on a seat, pockets emptied with soft clinks. Just what nature gave us. The circle formed, a living ring of expectation, antennae angled, eyes dilated, lenses whirring. The Vorashk loomed, 2.1 meters of cutting tools and quarry armor, claws honed to unkindness. Begin, Varethish said, mandibles at rest, certain of the lesson to come. The Vorashk lunged, all momentum and metal-bright claws. Darius did not meet force with force. He stepped a whisper left, caught a wrist, turned a shoulder. Momentum obeyed the oldest law. The Vorashk's world inverted. The floor met his back with a subsonic thump that the thrillith felt as a chord. Before breath returned, Darius slid an arm like water, sealing breathing vents without crushing them. Humans have no claws, Darius said calmly, body an arrangement of levers and thresholds. But we have leverage. He tightened just enough to paint edges in panic. Our joints rotate in ways that turn your strength against you. The tap-out came as a rapid drumbeat on Darius's forearm. He released and eased the Vorashk's head to the floor. Who's next? He asked, without challenge in the tone, only invitation. 3 Rilnari moved as one, bone spikes clicking free with a sound like hail. Darius sank center of gravity, the floor accepting him like an old friend. He swept the first Rilnari's legs, bone spikes skittering harmlessly against air. His elbow found a nerve cluster in the second, lights out with surgical mercy. The third met a spiral, wrist, elbow, shoulder, each joint realizing how persuasion can become compulsion. No venom, Darius said, catching breath in perfectly measured sips. "But we mapped nerve lattices 1,000 years before we left our atmosphere. Maximum disruption," he added, tightening the lock. "Minimum force." A Thrillith champion stepped forward, crystalline facets prismatic, confidence geologic. Darius circled once, listening more than looking, hand hovering as if tasting heat. The palm strike landed with the care of a pianist touching ivory. Resonance answered, an interior hum slipping to a frequency the champion could not tolerate. The Thrillith folded to one knee, hands on sternum, trying to dampen his own choir. "No armor," Darius said, soft as chalk, "but we studied physics. Resonance. Force distribution, momentum. It's all just math wearing intention." Around the ring, 8 species watched the floor instead of the human. The air smelled of coolant, acid, petrichor, the bouquet of frayed pride. Darius turned back to Varethish, palms open, nothing concealed. "You're right that we lack biological weapons," he said, voice without triumph. "But you missed what we do have." He raised one hand, flexing fingers. "Opposable thumbs that become fists, and tools, and sutures." He gestured to his own stance. "Bipedal balance that frees our arms while our feet do their thinking." He tapped temple lightly. "A brain that models futures faster than most computers can label pasts. And most importantly," he added, turning to help the Varashk stand, 10,000 years of turning weakness into strength." The Varashk took his hand, shame and respect alloying into something useful. "We didn't develop weapons because we were helpless," Darius continued. "We developed them because we got bored of killing things with our bare hands." A Xytherion hissed in confusion. Idiom does not always cross stars. "Every human martial art, boxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, exists because we needed rules," Darius said. "Rules to keep the game from turning back into war." Varethish's translator clicked and then chose silence, the pause between assumptions and understanding. "The Xytherion Rift incident," Darius said gently. "Check the full report, not the abstract." The human wasn't cornered while fleeing. He turned back. He was protecting a nursery, 37 young of 3 species. He killed 3 adult Skrythids with his bare hands before the 4th reached him. He died standing between teeth and children. That matters. Silence moved outward like a tide pulling shells. In the upper tiers, a Xytherion shifted color toward shame blue, then ore gold. A Thrillith medic lifted a hand in acknowledgement, crystalline voice a soft chime. The Rilnari, who'd been joint-locked, rubbed an elbow and nodded once, precise as a measured dose. The Varashk drew himself straighter, plates settling, acid sealed, pride refiled into respect. Varethish exhaled, a dry susurrus of plates against plates. "Cadet Kaelen," he said at last, "your demonstration is accepted." He gestured, and the hologram of the human anatomy collapsed into a single beating heart. "Curricula calcify," he murmured, almost to himself. "Wars are lost on brittle truths." Darius retrieved his watch, the most human gesture in a room not built for humans. "That heart," Varethish said, addressing the amphitheater, "beats in a species that invented rules to restrain itself. It is a mistake to confuse restraint with inability." He looked at the Varashk, or mercy with fear. He looked at the Thrillith, or mathematics with magic. He looked at Darius, or tools with crutches. The amphitheater, built to swallow sound, chose then to carry it. Applause is not universal, but respect is when enough worlds have learned how to name it. The ring dissolved. Cadets flowed back to their tiers, some avoiding eye contact, others seeking it. A Xytherion aide cleared the floor of acid with a sand that drank greedily. Darius tied off his hand wraps again, the ritual both ending and beginning. Varethish called up a new module with a flicker of thought. Title, Sol Primus Kinetics, Internalized Tool Use. "Class," he said, "we will update our models." He pointed to joints on the hologram, shoulder, hip, spine, arcs of motion lit like constellations. "We will account for leverage, for rhythm, for prediction as a weapon." "Prediction," he repeated, tasting the word. "And we will add a footnote," he added, voice steady, "on the difference between prey and choice." Darius paused at the exit, glancing back only once, measuring the room like a battlefield now peacefully lost. In the corridor, a Xytherion jogged to catch him, color tones warm with gratitude. "My sibling was in that nursery," they said. translator giving the words an earnest tremor. They remember the human. He smelled like smoke and iron. He said a joke that didn't translate. Darius smiled a human smile, lopsided and unthreatening. We do that. What was his name? The Xytherion asked. Darius's gaze went somewhere the corridor couldn't follow. Doesn't change what he did, he said softly. Back in the amphitheater, Varethish dismissed the class with a click and a bow. He archived the old slide, the one that called humans helpless without tools. He replaced it with a new frame, a human skeleton, moving through vectors like a dancer through light. At the bottom, a line of text appeared in sober font. Leverage is a tool you carry inside the body. The Xytherion Academy would memorize that. Some would resent it, some would fear it, more would train with it. In time, a handful would survive because of it, and one professor, Chitin catching the lecture lights, would remember the day he learned that prey is a story you can tell wrong. I'll be updating my curriculum, Varethish said aloud, committing the vow to the room, to the record, to himself. Outside, the station's ring drifted in perfect math above a blue star. Inside, new math began to grow around an old heart.